Hallo, mein Name ist Heiko Böhringer.
Hello, my name is Heiko Böhringer and I'm going to introduce you to the Ethernet communication interfaces in the Automation System PSS 4000. PSS devices can communicate with external high-level control systems via Modbus Tcp, raw TCP, raw UDP and Ethernet IP. Let's start the configuration in the PAS 4000 editor. The Ethernet communication interfaces can be configured in PAS 4000 via the IP Connections editor. Let's start with a Modbus TCP connection. Several Modbus TCP connections can be configured for a PSS 4000 device. The role of client connection or server connection can be freely selected. You can freely configure the usable data that you wish to transfer from the client to the server and vice versa via the server allocation table. The configuration is performed from the client's perspective. It's also important to consider how the external client communication connection is configured with regard to the number of connections and the function codes. Once the data range has been configured, further network settings can be made with regard to the communication partner and the timeout. Now we'll configure a Modbus client connection. You will need to adjust your server remote IP address. You can use the function codes to adapt your payload specifically to your application. For example, if you wish to receive 4 bits from the server, you can configure this here. Further payload configurations must be configured with a new client connection. Here too, you will need to enter your server's remote IP address and can configure your data via the function codes. As additional IP connections, you can configure data exchange via raw TCP or raw UDP. With TCP transfer, you can freely configure the role of the server or client. Here too, you can adapt the usable data transfer specifically to your application. The UDP connection can be configured in similar fashion. You can also enable the type of connection to several communication partners. A total of up to 32 different IP connections can be configured. In addition to the IP connections listed already, the Automation System also has another Ethernet communications interface via Ethernet IP, in which PSS 4000 devices operate in the network as adapters for external high-level scanner control systems. The configuration is performed in the Ethernet IP adapter editor. An input and output object instance must be available to establish a connection between the PSS adapter and the external scanner. The configuration is performed from the perspective of the external scanner. In order to send usable data from an external scanner to the PSS adapter, for example, we will now create a scanner output object instance. Virtual modules are selected to create the required usable data configuration, which you can adapt specifically to your application. In the same way, the connection configuration for the usable data from the scanner to the PSS adapter is performed via the scanner input object instance. There is also an option to send a status word from a PSS adapter to the scanner. The external Ethernet IP scanner control system obtains the configured virtual modules via a configuration ALS file, which is available to download from our PILDS website. Once the connection configuration has been made, mapping can take place along with the download to the control system.